As part of its corporate social responsibility to the Society for Family Health SFH ASAS has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring clean water for Nigerians irrespective of place of abode. The managing director of SFH, Dennis Izobo, while speaking during the launch of Water Guard Disinfectant in Lagos, said most Nigerians believe they have pure water through sachet, PET bottle and public borehole in their request to drink clean water. But all of these water packs are not so clean. SFH boss stated that a cap of new water guards can be used to treat 25 liters of water, as well as treating and decant 80 liters overhead tank with just a bottle. On his part, the board president of SFH Access Group, Ahmed Yakasai, said water is life and SFH wants to promote quality water to the people and the government, as the group is committed to fighting pipe-borne diseases and remove all the contaminants from water. A member of Nollywood, Bolanini Nollywood, who is the company's brand ambassador, pointed out that two things are the cheapest in the world, and one of them is water. But due to the climate situation, water has become an essential commodity that is now expensive. Ninolowo said the water guard disinfectant will eradicate bacteria, and the thought of creating a product to ensure everyone has good water is such a welcome development.
Is that a lot of people don't have access to public water supply, and for those of us who grew up much older, you find out that in those days, with your public water supply, it's treated, it gets to your house, you drink. We didn't have to buy water, we didn't have to spend so much, we didn't have to think of boiling because this has already been taken care of. So in response to that gap is what Society for Family and through Society for Family and access to it, limited by guarantee, is bridging right now in Nigeria. You, myself, everybody that uses this has their water treated. So once the water is treated, you don't need to spend extra to provide safe drinking water in the home. Even washing your vegetables, cooking, you don't need to spend a lot of boiling. Ultimately, what this leads to is what we call a reduction in illnesses in the society.
Source from the main source. So this chlorine or water guard tank disinfectant will be used in the tank, and there will be a way we are going to connect it to the tank. You don't need to be pouring directly. It will be coming down, it will treat it. So we try to see how we can give our own contribution as far as curbing the problem of waterborne diseases is concerned. So this water guard is for treatment or removal of all the kind of pathogens, all kind of contaminants that spoil the water to get a good water.
Consultants in the town planning environment have been charged to next professional skills and expertise through extensive portfolio of successful engagement and strong background in strategy and communication. Guest speaker Dr. Idris Salako gave the charge at the symposium of Association of Town Planning Consultants of Nigeria, Lagos State branch, themed the challenges of effective town planning practice in the rapidly expanding city of Lagos, the role of consultants, town planners in perception. They say town planning consultants need to be vibrant and ambitious with keen long-term social ecological ethics of expansion process, as such commitment tend to contribute to physical and economic development of Lagos State. Meanwhile, the immediate past chairman of the association, Lagos State, Dr. Kola Olayiwola, said the theme was carefully selected as a main aid to improve the practice of urban and regional planning professionals in the state.
How do you harness your skill? Oh, like I said, and from his question, that we are docile. You have to show, we have to speak up. Not only by practice, even in our actions. And I gave examples of the lion and the gazelle. If you are not up and doing, competition will leave you behind. So it's an environment that should be competitive. Let's make it competitive and let's make it tidy.
And the purpose of bringing this topic on board is how, as private practitioners in urban and regional planning profession, how we can sensitize people to let people know what this profession entails, and at the same time to also are really train our members to be up and doing in discharging their duty as urban and regional planning professionals.
The team has to do with the need for improving the practice of urban and regional planning profession in the states, especially with the growing trend of developments at its leaps and bounds, with sporadic activities towards the suburb urban area, and the need to make planning activities more feasible to take its proper place in society. So we have to craft this particular team that has to do with the role of town planner in a growing city of Lagos.
We consultants also should look inwards and see what do we put on the table for people to appreciate us, for the knowledge we have, for the commitment we have, for the competence that we have. I think those are the two areas we want to look at.
The provost of the newly established Federal College of Education in Iwo Osun State, Professor Rafiu Adebayo, has appealed to the federal government to address challenges of inadequate allocation of funds affecting activities of colleges of education in the nation. Professor Rafiu Adebayo made this appeal in his address during the maiden matriculation ceremony of the Federal College of Education in Iwo Osun State. The institution is one of the 6 colleges established by the federal government in each of the nation's geopolitical zone as part of measures to improve on the number and quality of teachers to be deployed to primary and secondary schools across the country. Professor Adebayo appreciated President Buhari and the Minister of Education for their vision on the establishment of the colleges, but appealed to the federal government to improve on its fiscal funding to enable the education institutions sustain the vision.
The major one is inadequate allocation of funds to colleges of education generally. While the federal government is commended for establishing new colleges, we observe that the take-off grant allocated to the newly established colleges of education is grossly inadequate to cater for institutions taken off from scratch.
Teachers are nation builders. We are building our next generation. So should be good examples in all things.
The school will really have rules and regulations. And they will enforce it too. When they begin enforcement, don't complain. Moral integrity, education with integrity. That's what they're going to begin with.
A challenge to all politicians when you serve. Always do something that will create a legacy for you. If you don't have a legacy, you will be forgotten in the annals of history of that land.
That's all from the local scene. We go on a quick break to bring you foreign stories. Please stay with us. Welcome back now to Foreign Stories. Leaders from the Group of 7 nations agreed new sanctions on Friday that are said to starve Russia of G7 technology, industrial equipment and services that support its war machine. The move comes after the United States, Britain and the European Union all announced fresh effort to fan the screws in Moscow 15 months into Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The bloc, meeting in the Japanese city of Hiroshima, said that they would move to further restrict Russia's access to G7 economies. The nations vowed to broaden actions to ensure that export of all items critical to Russia's aggression were restricted across all their jurisdictions. Meanwhile, Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine has accused some Arab leaders of turning a blind eye to Russia's invasion ahead of his expected appearance at the G7 summit in Japan. It is thought the Ukrainian president will arrive in Hiroshima on Sunday in a bid to secure further military support for a planned counter-offensive. On Friday, Mr. Zelensky was in Saudi Arabia for an Arab League summit of the Arab League nations. Only Syria has openly supported Russia's invasion, while other member nations have sought to maintain good relations with Moscow. President Zelensky also told the assembled leaders in Jeddah that his country was defending itself from colonizers and imperialists, appearing to invoke the Arab world's own history of invasion and occupation.
And I'm also sure all your nations will understand the main call I want to leave here in Jeddah, a noble call to all of you to help protect our people, including Ukrainian Muslim community. Unfortunately, there are some in the world and here among you who turn a blind eye to those cages and illegal annexations. And I'm here so that everyone can take an honest look, no matter how hard the Russians try to influence. There must still be independence. And I want to thank Saudi Arabia. I want to thank the majority of you for supporting Forum International.
Authorities in Iran have executed 3 men sentenced to death in connection with the nationwide anti-government protest in 2022, but Amnesty International says they were subjected to unfair trials and allegedly tortured. The 3 were convicted over their alleged involvement in a shooting attack that killed 3 security personnel in Isfahan in November. 4 other protesters have been hanged since December, but dozens more have reportedly been sentenced to death or charged with capital offenses. The protest swept across the Islamic Republic following the death and custody of Masha Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish woman who was detained by morality police in Tehran in September for allegedly wearing a hijab improperly. And an elderly Australian woman with dementia is in hospital with life-threatening injuries after being tassered by police at a care home. Officers were called to Yalambi Lodge in Kume after reports that 95-year-old Claire Norland was carrying a knife, and the early morning incident sparked outcry over what advocate says was a disproportionate response. The New South Wales Police Chief said she shares community concerns and an investigation is underway. And up next is sport-related stories. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now talking sports. Treble chasing Manchester City can take the full spurt by capturing their 3rd consecutive Premier League title this weekend in what Pep Guardiola said was the most important and difficult of the 3 trophies to win. Man City can clinch the league without even kicking a ball if Arsenal lose at Nottingham Forest on Saturday, and if not, they can host the trophy by beating Chelsea on Sunday at the Etihad Stadium. It will be easy to be distracted after City destroyed European powerhouse Real Madrid 4-0 on Wednesday to win their Champions League semi-final 5-1 on aggregate. They have 2 more trophies to play for, with the FA Cup final coming up versus Manchester United on June 3rd and the Champions League final a week later in Istanbul. And that's it on Mitv News Update. Join us again tonight for our primetime news at 9:30 p.m. I am Teresa Adeyemi. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Good evening.